It's just like Nickelback once said, look at this graph.
Look at this graph.
Look at this graph.
If a convict is hung, that's unrelated.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you. I can actually remember that.
Yeah.
I've been alive for 30 years and I can do its and its or various other ones, but hanged and hung. Thank you, Zach. This has actually been a problem for me.
There it is. People who describe this podcast as a waste of time. What do you say now? All right, everybody. You guys want to do some? I cannot get the lighting right in this room, by the way.
Me either. I'm just going for dramatic mood lighting.
It's fine.
These are my curtains over here. Here's my campaign pin collection.
This is my hotel room. I'm in Brooklyn right now.
You can't actually see all of it.
One night in Brooklyn makes the tough times tumble.
I wonder if any of these are going to be readable in the final video. I hope so.
Hey, you guys know this guy, Jon Snow?
Yeah.
You guys know this guy? This guy, Jon Snow, I hear there's some fishy stuff around the way he got elected. And as a person who cares a lot about elections and election integrity, I think that this warrants investigation.
And as someone who believes in that as well, I think this one, I have a compelling argument. I think maybe not more so than the last one, but this is the one I think there's a clear argument to be made for it being legitimate. When you consider it's a lot closer to a party nominating convention than it is a regular, old-fashioned straight up and down election. This reeks of a backroom deal gone right or wrong, depending on whether you supported Jon Snow or not.
Now, wait a minute. Then what is your take going to be?
My take is when it's an internal nominating convention, you can make a backroom deal as long as all the votes are counted correctly.
Wait. What?
Yeah. If a party can't reach the nomination and they all sit down, have a couple drinks and say, God damn it, I guess it's Jon Snow. And everybody says, okay, fine. And they vote for him. That was legitimate.
So you're suggesting, I'm at the end of the conversation right now. You're suggesting to me what exactly? You're suggesting to me that the two principal the two people with the principal amounts of proxy votes sat down and had a conversation?
Yep. We both know we're not going to win.
There. We'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. I'll knock that argument out of the park at the end. I think that's probably the most likely case.
All right. I have here in front of me a rough timeline of events. I'm going to start to move through them. If you guys want to, at any point, interrupt me and talk about any of them, please do. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. With the voting stalemated at the beginning of the 9th round of voting, Jon Snow asserts that Slynt is going to win. He responds to Sam, who says, that's never going to happen. Jon says, it's been happening for days. So we are in the middle of the 998th Lord Commander's election at the Night's Watch. We are in the 9th round of voting. This is the beginning of the 9th round of voting. We, the audience, see a total of 2 rounds. We see the 9th round and we see the 10th round. And then the 11th round, Jon Snow wins. Bowen Marsh, at the beginning of this round of voting, removes his name from contention and formally endorses Janna Slynt. Let's see here. Oh gosh. Oh, right. We have to talk about, I forgot about, full disclosure. I have gone insane this week. So some of the things that we talk about are going to like come back to me very suddenly, including the fact that we need to talk about magical animals in this episode.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah. Somebody set up the magical animals, please. Somebody set up the magical animals.
Snow.
So there's at least 2 magical animals this episode. We have the Lord Commander Mormont's Raven and Ghost. So in one of the best scenes in the series, Stannis and Jon are on top of the wall. They engage in a verbal fencing match. Stannis sort of takes the measure of Jon, and Jon takes the measure of Stannis. And Stannis offers to make Jon the Lord of Winterfell. This happens on the top of the wall during this course of events. He says, all you need to do is bend the knee and pledge fealty to me, and you'll rise again as Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell. Oh my God, there's so much insane rambling here. Oh, I love it. We have the line, Ygritte wanted me to be a wildling, Stannis wants me to be Lord of Winterfell, but what do I want?
It's a good line.
And his musings, as he's pondering this, are interrupted by Ghost, who passes his own hunger into Jon's mind. They wrestle a little bit, and then Jon decides to stay. That event takes place a little bit later outside of this this timeline of events, but we got to keep it in mind. So at the end of that timeline, at the end of that day's voting, the vote totals have Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike all the way out front, but Jon and Sam remind themselves that the vote totals have been moving in favor of Janos Slynt for several days now. Zach, while I'm getting this set up on the back end, will you please explain the proxy system at
I want to explain the proxy system, and I want to bring up a historical parallel that I'm going to hark back to a couple times, because I love historical parallels, and I think George does also, and I have a really good one, because we're on the 9th round, right?
Yes.
So, vote by proxy it's Eastwatch by the Sea and the Shadow Tower, correct? I'm not mistaken, that are voting by proxy.
Correct.
And what that means is instead of all of them coming, they've sent one person to vote for them entirely. Now, they could do that as a breakdown. This person wants to support so-and-so, but because candidates withdraw and jump in such things like nominating conventions or a Lord Commander election, they usually pick their nominee ahead of time, and all vote as a block to have a stronger number. And they are the 2 leading candidates because of that in terms of vote total, but they are gaining no additional votes. And it just so happens to be that they picked the head of both of those areas. What they did was had a majority vote there and said, whoever wins the majority vote there is getting all of our votes by proxy. Or you could say the 2 of them just said, Lamau goodbye to all their men, and walked over and said, they all vote for me.
Yeah, to be honest, that seems more likely to me.
Either is possible, and we have no clue. So I'd like to give both possibilities. I think that, the Lamau XD, you're all voting for me, see you later, is probably just as likely. Yes. But that's usually how voting by proxy goes, and it allows them to then become deal makers later if they realize they're not going to win, which is a crucial part of my argument. I'd also like to point out that conventions that get deadlocked between 2 people and then they have to find an alternative have a great bit of history in the United States nominating conventions. This happened in both the 1924 Democratic Convention, which went for, do you want to guess how many ballots?
Gosh, what would the record be? I'm going to wager that the record is more than 150.
No, it's 103. It went back and forth, largely between 2 candidates until they got to the 103rd ballot. It went between McAdoo and Smith with a little bit of, I think it was Davis who eventually won that one, but that one went very long. The one I want to bring up now is the 1844 Democratic National Convention, where we had the first dark horse victory in American history. It's where the term comes from. It was James K. Polk who won after the convention could not decide between Martin Van Buren and Lewis Cass, who were on the far opposite sides of the ideological spectrum of the party at the time. Polk was the compromise candidate. In this one, we have the two leading candidates are far on the opposing end of the wall itself physically.
Okay.
That's something I'm going to bring up a little bit later. And it also has another thing where somebody else was gaining steam and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out for him. We'll talk about that a little bit because I feel like I'm going to talk about who's the most likely Lord Commander after Jon Snow. I feel like this seals the deal for my argument. But, save good things when we're about to wrap up the video, right?
All right. So, just a very brief recap. On proxy voting. Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister, who are the commanders of Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower, respectively, they have the ability to vote on behalf of the Rangers who are still at Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower.
Yes. And they can just and those people are never going to show up to vote by themselves ever.
Yes. And basically they have no oversight on that. That gives you guys want some numbers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Actually, we're gonna do it. I'm just gonna pop right on over here. Give me one of these. Give me one of these. Give me one of these. Boop boop. Boop.
I'm so excited for
is this about to dox me? It's not. It's okay. Hello, look at this.
It's just like Nickelback once said. Look at this graph.
Look at this graph.
Look at this graph.
Okay, hang on. Let me do one of these, right? And then let me do one of these, and one of these, and then one of these. Is it still visible? No, right here, please. Yeah? Is that better? No, it's not better. Whatever, that's the way it's gonna be. Behold. Vote totals. Look at this, because we have this in this flippin' god awful series. They actually give us vote totals for round 9 and round 10 of voting. Dennis Mallister in the 9th round of voting has 213 votes. Cotter Pike 187, Janos Slint 74, Othel Yarwick 60, Bowen Marsh 49, Three Finger Hob 5, and Ed Tollett 1. Sam expresses distress in this as he sees the votes slipping in the direction of Janos Slint, who has been slowly climbing up the ranks for days. And he thinks that sooner or later, Pike or Mallister, who have these giant blocks of proxy votes, one of them is going to vote for Slint. This would obviously be bad. Why would this be bad?
Well, because they don't like Janos Slint.
More specifically, why would this be bad? This would be bad because Jon is very confident that Janos Slint is going to execute him as a traitor if he comes into power. That's not great.
Yeah.
It also makes it very strange that Jon is very confident that Janos is going to win and still refuses Stannis' offer. Let's talk about that for a minute. Jon, my God, it's insane. It's insane, right? Because Jon has been offered the most wonderful thing that he could possibly imagine. The best thing he's ever been offered in his life. Like, the perfect life for him as far as he is concerned. And the alternative is to stay and be executed. And he chooses to stay. That's insane.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, please.
I mean, I think with a little more context, it's not that insane. And so I'm sure you're both familiar with the Preston Jacobs theory about John being like brainwashed through Ghost or whatever, because he looks at Ghost. And so the way that I interpreted that passage before encountering Preston Jacobs, and like, hey Preston, if you're watching this, hello, I love your work.
How's it going?
The way I understood it is that John is choosing duty and choosing ethics over even his own desire to live. That he knows that becoming Lord of Winterfell under Stannis requires him to burn the Godswood.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened at Storm's End. And John ultimately decides, I would rather die an honorable death like my father did, doing what I believe is right, than turn my back on my culture, turn my back on my family. It's maybe not the choice everyone would make, but I in context, I don't think I could call it insane,
Well, see, this is an interesting position, because if that is the logic, and that is for sure, that is the logic presented in the book, in these passages. He says, I would have to burn the old gods, and he looks down at Ghost and he like scruffles his ears, and he's like, I would have to burn your gods. And it said he had his answer then. And that there's a certain nobility to that, but it's not like Rickard Karstark isn't gonna burn the Godswood. Is it Rickard? Whichever the next Karstark is, right? Who Stannis is planning on making Lord of Winterfell. It's not like he's saving the Godswood by this action. I mean,
yeah, but he's not the one doing it. And there is something to be said for that. It's like, this may happen whether I co-sign it or not, but I am still publicly taking the position that like I will not co-sign it. And I think that decision has value,
These are good takes, and I'm less confident.
Yeah, like Ned, when Robert decided to have Daenerys assassinated, ultimately Ned and Barristan's votes didn't matter, but Ned felt it important to say, I don't co-sign this. I'm resigning his hand. Daenerys might die anyway, but fuck you.
This is a wonderful parallel.
It was Robert Mueller before he was FBI. He was in the Bush administration, and they tried to pass something he vehemently disagreed with, and he resigned rather than signing off on it to make a point. And we talked about in a previous one, I think in the very first one, we talked about sometimes even if you're going to lose, you're going to go down in flames, it's worth making your point to like give a better argument for people in the future, or to pass on that like ideological thread. Even if John is taking the most extreme example by potentially dying to do it, if he believes in the values he's purporting, that I think he could rationalize it. I would tell you in real life, try not to die to make a point. Like dying sucks, but like Jon Snow, I could see like he is.
From personal experience.
I'm gonna go with yes. Mira, you said before we started the show that we've had some like real great, oh my god, we did it moments in the last couple of episodes. And even if we don't in this one, I at least, yeah, I at least am now on your guys' position. I'm never happy to be wrong, but I'm always willing to be wrong.
I want to compare the top and bottom numbers here. Is 9 the dividing line between day 9 and day 10?
No. Day 9 is in the StarCraft community. You're looking for Dolorous Ed.
I've met him. He's a cool dude. He's a very cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So answer the question.
Yes. This is the one.
Okay. Good. Isn't it strange how the Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike numbers have changed?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When they should be consistent, because none of them are there except for Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike, right?
Okay, wait. I have good reason for this. Let me see here. This leads me to another of the things that happen in these couple of days. We see some endorsements change. Who is it who drops out? Is it Bowen Marsh? Yes,
Bowen Marsh drops out.
Bowen Marsh drops, and endorses Janos Slint. And so everyone who was voting for Bowen Marsh switches for Janos Slint, and because of the added endorsement, some of the people voting for Mallister and Pike switch over too. We don't know that their proxies total these numbers. We know that they are at least these numbers.
Well, because do we know the exact number of people at both locations, or no?
We don't. What I believe we have are like rough percentages. Let me see if I have it in here. Okay, I don't see it. I believe it's something to the effect of a quarter of the men at Eastwatch, or a quarter of the men in the Watch are at Eastwatch, are at Eastwatch, and less at the Shadow Tower. I think is what it ends up being. It might be the opposite, but so, I will attempt to find out.
Who's to say that they don't come in and then slowly whittle off their proxies towards candidates they sort of like to cause like fake bumps in momentum, or to like make it so somebody's campaign like falls flat, and then they do this every election, right? Like if you're Dennis Mallister or Cotter Pike, you have to realize that your chances of winning aren't that great, but your chances of affecting how everybody else votes are actually really good if you go up to Maester Aemon and say, 203 of my men are voting for me, and the rest are voting for Janos Slint or for Othel Yarrick.
You, Dennis Mallister.
Dennis Mallister, political mastermind, Dennis Mallister. Yes.
Slowly siphon your votes off. Pourquoi?
To make it look like somebody's gaining momentum or losing momentum, yes.
But pourquoi?
Because people vote in herds, right? Like if you see Janos Slint gaining votes and starting to lose it, you think, oh no, he's not going to make it, right? This happens all the time in conventions where somebody starts losing momentum or losing votes and people start to like panic. And we saw this in the recent Speaker of the House elections as well, right? When was Jim Jordan cooked? When he lost even more people, right? When it was clear he was losing more voters with each ballot, they told him to drop out. They literally called him into the basement. And like, thank God. And I sent him a little tiny plastic violin and told him to go fuck himself. That's true, by the way.
Okay.
That when your voting universe is this small, people see themselves start to lose and they panic, right? They see the candidate they're backing start to gain steam or start to lose steam, and it changes the conversation in the room. And if you're Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike and nobody knows how many men you have outside of the people counting the votes and nobody knows whose vote is what, you could just say, oh, there have been people backing me from the beginning when that's not true. And then you can start to move your votes around.
Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about?
What I'm saying is Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike pick every Lord Commander. They know they can't. They know they can't win with their own vote totals. The two of them meet up, grab a drink, and pick the new Lord Commander every year by not allowing their men to vote themselves.
Okay.
Continue rolling on.
Okay. All right. We'll go back to that.
Statement. I think it makes sense. I think the numbers back it up.
Okay. So you're telling me that Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike, who hate each other, like lied to Sam in a coordinated effort to mask the fact that they made a backroom deal to secure the Lord Commander's election together, and decided not to do it for 11 days.
If it happens in the first round, people know some shenanigans happened, right? But if you draw it out for several days and make it seem like you fucking hate each other, is anybody gonna believe that you secretly were grabbing beers and like, okay, so what do you think about Boa Marsh the whole time, right? Like, if you wanted to mask the fact that you were in charge and like messing with things, wouldn't you want to make it like unbelievable to everybody else? They only have to argue in front of everybody else. They can go.
No,
Zach, this is literally absurd. I reject this hypothesis outright.
I wouldn't feel the need to do that. You know why? Because everyone knows that they have the proxies. They just have them. They can just say that's what they're doing.
They can say that's what they're doing, but then everybody's okay. If yes and no, right? Because if you say all my men wanted to vote for me, and then you say, actually, I changed my mind. 203 of my men want to vote for me, and 10 of my men, who I have not talked to, want to vote for Janice Slint. People say, oh, you're fucking around. You're fucking around and trying to change the outcome of this election. You would 100% say that.
Okay.
Point of order.
All right.
Point of order.
The chair recognizes.
There are approximately 200 soldiers at the Shadow Tower.
Uh-huh.
So the 213 for Dennis Mallister, 13 of those are not Shadow Tower men. So I don't think it's a matter of them manipulating their own proxies. I think it's a matter of, over time, the Castle Black men voting for Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister are being siphoned off.
Yeah, I think that they're bleeding away.
That's possible. It's also possible that approximately means like a little over 200, which that's the thing with numbers being so small. Approximately 200 is not helpful when somebody is in the lead at 203, right?
This is
but
of course, and if somebody's gonna vote for Dennis, people at the Knights, people at the Castle Black are gonna vote for Dennis.
Maybe.
So the numbers that Jon Snow had, it was before like the Great Ranging and stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is like 213, 187, 169. Like, I think we are getting down to the total proxy votes that they have, not that they're splitting their okay, Cotter Pike, you think he has the political savvy or the give a shitness just to divide up and siphon strategically his proxy votes? No.
To be fair, I'm a believer partially in Big Brain Mace. So yes, maybe.
I'm a believer in Big Brain Olenna.
I need you to understand how much better of a take Big Brain Mace is than this.
Yeah, this is because
someone
really,
in the comments is defending me. Somebody in the comments is defending me, I swear.
What this is like you're undercutting this whole like master move that Sam does. Like, it's one of my favorite chapters in the whole series. I let me know if the sound is better holding the mic like this. I really enjoy this.
It's much more NPR now.
I fully believe that Sam brokers a deal, 100%. If somebody gets
Sam brokers a deal, you say I believe Sam brokers a deal. We see that on screen.
Well, yeah, it's hard to not believe that. I mean, I believe the sky is blue also.
But like we see Sam convince each of them separately. You're alleging that like all of that the rivalry between them is all smoke and mirrors, and that they're like secretly in cahoots and have been strategically siphoning off their own proxy. Like, I don't why.
That's entirely possible that they still were in cahoots with each other. Sam came to them separately, not knowing that, and then they shared a beer later and said, "Yeah, I think Sam made the best offer."
Can you imagine this scene that we have this like really beautiful, heartfelt, like Sam forsaking his like values to do something kind of underhanded, to all this talk about a lie for the right reasons, and then Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike 45 minutes later like sitting around. Can you believe this asshole, this idiot came to us? I mean, we were gonna do that anyway today. We had this raven ready to go. We hid the raven in the pot an hour ago, dumbass. Like, what the hell?
There's no way, Zach. There's no way.
Zach, this might be my least favorite take in this fandom, and that's holy shit! Is that a bar you have cleared? Oh my god.
I said I was going to argue that every election's legitimate. And you know what? Sometimes it's a stretch, right?
You know what, Zach? Strictly speaking, you found a way it could have happened.
This is the way it could have happened. Sam saying a lie for the right reasons, and then doing something that was already going to happen.
But
He's got a ringer for a ringer.
He said a lie for the right reasons, but the lie wasn't his. It was Dennis Mallister's and Cotter Pike's lie, and the right reasons means nothing.
No, he just made the exact same lie that was going to happen anyways.
Oh my god. Oh, it's stealing a balloon on Free Balloon Day.
Yeah, exactly. if I go in and take out a bunch of my opponent's votes and put in a bunch of mine, but it turns out that the next 10 voters in line were all going to leave it blank and then also vote for the same guy, and then they get up and leave because they saw me do that. I didn't change the results any.
This is the beginning of the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I haven't seen the Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, somebody made me watch that.
You didn't like it?
I think it was colored by the amount that I now dislike the person who tried to make me watch it.
Fair. Respectable. This is the staging a breakout from prison after your pardon from prison has already been approved.
Oh yeah, I don't like dramatic irony.
That's all I got. Otherwise, my argument falls apart completely, and you're probably right that there was shenanigans because it's written out pretty clearly that there were shenanigans.
Yeah, we know what the shenanigans are.
We know what the shenanigans are.
I'm aware we know what shenanigans are. I said for the entire series, I'm going to take the no shenanigans stance.
You've added shenanigans to undo the shenanigans that we see
one's like an alkaline shenanigans, and the other's like an acidic shenanigans, and they just turn to water.
And now there's just no shenanigans. Zach, I fucking hate this take so much. I hate this so much. Oh my god. Thank you, Zach. I was like really tired. Like I could feel myself like starting to fade a little bit. And holy shit, am I mad now? Oh my god!
I like the idea of Janos Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister messing with Janos Slint for no reason because they don't like him, and actually secretly being friends for like ever.
Just fucking with Janos. Where they're like, no, hey, we got you. We're gonna vote for you tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're like, no, we get you. Next day we got you, bro. Don't you worry. Hey, we might vote for Jon Snow. Fucking Jesus Christ.
So,
can we get back? Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So as far as proxies and numbers, like we were looking at, that we're like whittling down to the actual total at the Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower. I want to know, and I need to look this up, how many men Janos Slint brought with him, because he didn't come up alone. And also, Cersei was sending a contingent, or was supposed to be. I can't remember if Cersei's guys made it to the wall, if we're talking about stacking the deck in certain directions.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. If the answer to that question is, what do we have? Janos is at 70 and then 130. They said that he started out low and slowly gained ground. So that tells me that his initial starting vote was, I'm going to wager less than 30. But that is a meaningful number, and that meaningful number, like those people, once Janos Slint gets his head cut off, would be seeking a new person to be loyal to. They might hunt down Bowen Marsh, and they might be part of the Jon Snow conspiracy. I think that's a very interesting take, actually.
That's the take I was going to make, is that the candidate in the first Dark Horse election who got shot down was James Buchanan, who eventually became he dropped out, but eventually later he became the nominee and then eventually president. Janos Slint obviously didn't get beheaded, but Janos Slint did get beheaded. Sorry, James Buchanan did not get beheaded that I'm aware of. But there's an argument that like somebody who's carrying along that like ideological like thread is going to dip out this time and wait for a better opportunity, sort of thing. That's exactly what happened with Buchanan, his rise and fall in that election.
On the one hand, Zach, I find that interesting. On the other hand, I'm afraid you've used your number of takes for the day. I'm so sorry. I'm flipping through my notes, and I think you only had the one.
To be fair, I know you hate it. It is fun to think about.
I'm not saying it's not funny. All right, please don't mistake me. It's really very funny. But I feel like the jokes are funniest when they're not on me.
It's not on you. It's on Sam Tarley. Sam Tarley thinks he did this the needs of the many outweigh the few sort of thing.
Jesus fuck. All right. Here's something that we know that we haven't mentioned directly. We have an exact win number. We have a number of wins required to succeed here. And this is I'm gonna pivot here into talking about some more shenanigans if I can ever find the number that's in here somewhere. Yes. There's 589 sworn brothers of the Night's Watch, not including unsworn recruits like Satin. There's exactly 589, and the number that we need to hit is exactly 393. Both of these numbers are stated explicitly in Sam's chapters. Here's one of the fishy things that I want to talk about. Zach, even if we accept your take, these numbers are only barely enough to hit 2/3. Even if you take everything from Cotter Pike and everything from Dennis Mallister, you are still barely clearing what you need to clear.
My argument falls apart. Yep, correct.
Well, your argument and also John's.
Yes.
John's and Sam's is difficult to accept here because presumably just so on that last day when Jon Snow walks in, he walks in late just after his name has been put forth in the for consideration before the brothers. And presumably just before that, Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike have removed their names from contention. If they haven't removed their names from contention, that's a different, distinct issue. But let's assume for the moment that they have. Yeah. If they've removed their names from contention, then all of the remaining people here who are not proxies they are now free to vote as they will. The people voting for Jaina Slint, it's hard for me to imagine them flipping in very significant numbers for someone who just rocked up. So that just leaves the people who support Othel Yarwick to make up that last vote total to get from this number a little over 370 to get us the rest of the way. And Othel Yarwick, just a moment before, gives like a half-hearted endorsement of Jaina Slint. Actually, what he says is, when I stood up here, I was going to give an endorsement of Jaina Slint, but now I can't quite remember why. And then he sits back down.
And I feel like that is a real clincher. As far as the, because at this point we know Jon is going to get the proxy votes for Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower, but that's not going to be enough to hit the total that he needs. So we're looking for things that are going to get the Castle Black votes. So Othel Yarwick, I think, saying, actually, I don't remember why I was going to say Jaina Slint now that I think about it. Like, that's, because he's head builder.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so like all of his builder guys, it's kind of like in Lower Decks how the engineers are like very loyal to Billups. So it would be like if Billups stood up and was like, actually this guy's kind of an ass. Like everybody in engineering would be like, yeah, that guy's an ass.
Did you have you either watched Oppenheimer?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I only
Well,
watch Star Trek.
No, there's a scene like that where they get somebody to come in and testify on behalf of somebody who's being nominated for Secretary of Commerce, I think. And he says, I think the scientific community would like to see him not in government at all. And then he just basically ends like right there. And it like damages his ability to get further momentum to like get the votes he needs. Spoilers for Oppenheimer. Bad testimony like that, somebody coming up and saying something on your behalf and being kind of mean about it can blow you out. But I think you're right. It still is kind of sketchy in terms of vote totals. I know obviously Sam gets the proxies onto John's side, but the what you need to do on top of that is, so that's 372. Let's assume that like it's possible Yarwick also. So if we're talking about backroom deals, it's possible Yarwick knew he was going to tell all of his supporters, if he's really tight with them, vote for somebody else who is not Janos Slint. I'm going to go up there and pretend to give the endorsement, and then I'm going to be a dick about it. But it's kind of crazy to think like there was that level of coordination for it, unless he really was good at planning. And then that would have to also pull some Janos Slint people away, right? Because 372 plus 72 does not equal 589.
Yeah, but we don't need to hit 589. We need to hit 393. And actually, you guys ready for my triple axle McTwist take?
Sure.
I'm like looking at these numbers, and that's actually not hard to hit.
Yeah, he only needs to get most of the awful people, actually.
Yeah. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, maybe the take here is that is this actually fine?
I think it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's absolutely fine. I think the thing that's shady about it is Sam going, backdoor and pretending to be speaking on behalf of Maester Aemon, because, and what's interesting here, Dennis Mallister is like, yes, Sam, you and I are both members of the nobility. You don't have to blah, blah, blah. So it's almost like Dennis Mallister is expecting Maester Aemon to sway the election and takes it as a matter of course that Maester Aemon is going to be interfering. So it's Sam having these backdoor conversations and pretending as if Maester Aemon wants John to be elected. And I mean, I think Aemon did, although he never says outright. And then can we talk about the bird?
Yeah, let's talk about the bird, because at this point, the bird doesn't seem like it was needed. Maybe ?
I think the bird was the Aemon's failsafe.
You think the bird was Aemon's failsafe, huh?
Yep. That if something went wrong, like let's say Othel Yarwick doesn't change his mind at the end, and so John has the 372 for Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower. That is still 21 votes short. That Aemon put the bird in the pot as the failsafe, in case something went hinky with some of the other numbers.
I think that's a great take.
I also think that maybe they're used to Maester Aemon making like suggestions is a great take also. Because honestly, as absurd as my Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike are actually best friends take is, the idea that Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike separately are used to wheeling and dealing with Maester Aemon.
Yeah.
That's feasible. And they could even fudge numbers with that, and Maester Aemon's like covers it up a little bit for him, sort of, right? Like even if they're not numbers, one way or the other, right? Like maybe they are getting Castle Black votes, maybe they're not. If they have a pre-established wheeling and dealing relationship with Maester Aemon, that gives them a lot of leeway and power. And of course, with Castle Black being where most of like the like political power and like resources are, making that political wheeling and dealing, you could get other benefits for it, right?
Well, I don't even know if it's necessarily wheeling and dealing so much as Cotter Pike is illiterate, so he's dependent on the maesters to do his reading and writing for him. Mallister, I believe, was sent to the wall for being a Targaryen loyalist. And so I think they are both just inclined for different reasons to listen to the maesters and take the advice of the maesters, in particular Maester Aemon. And we know Aemon has a history of fucking with elections, because we have asserted that Aemon was responsible, at least in large part, for 233. And also Bloodraven being elected Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. It happened very shortly
time to
after.
Talk about it.
Maester Aemon is Bloodraven.
I'm bringing us back here. We're tangenting hard into talking about Bloodraven. Who wants to do this? Who wants to do the setup here?
I can do it.
Please. Yes.
So after the Great Council of 233, where Bloodraven executed a Blackfire who had shown up for the council, King Aegon V took it upon himself to exile Bloodraven to the Wall as punishment for violating for killing someone under a peace banner. What's interesting is that Maester Aemon went to the Wall at the same time. And presumably this was just like for funsies, like he says he was taking himself out of the equation. But I think it would be more interesting, and we've discussed this previously, that Aemon was actually also being sent there as a punishment for his assist in interfering with the Great Council of 233. So Bloodraven and Maester Aemon and 300 Raven's Teeth? 500 Raven's Teeth.
500.
Yeah, are sent to Eastwatch. And very shortly thereafter, Bloodraven is elected Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. So, which is strange, for a guy who hasn't been there that long. Although, I mean, he does have experience as Hand of the King, and considering how many guys he showed up with, that were all loyal to him, and his nephew or cousin, whichever, being Maester, I think it's only logical that Bloodraven was elected Lord Commander. So it was. He went out on a ranging, and this is how he wound up being the tree guy. He disappeared beyond the Wall during arranging. He wasn't at the Wall very long. What was it, 6 or 7 years total?
I don't think it was longer than 10.
Yeah.
But I'll confirm.
And so we don't know. We don't have any particulars about that election, but it is pretty obvious between Aemon being sent to the Wall and Bloodraven bringing all of his Raven's Teeth. It's pretty obvious how that election happened. And, funnily, they were sent there for throwing a different election. So Bloodraven and Maester Aemon have a long history of this.
Yeah, so this is at least the third election that Maester Aemon is involved in, and that just doesn't seem on the up and up to me.
But
all right?
By the way,
this human being has held the straws in 3 elections that don't seem quite correct.
Yes, and the Bloodraven one is especially sketch because they all show up. Yeah, it's I think that one probably, if we had more details on it, it'd be worthy of its own episode. But
hopefully we'll get.
I want to say we don't talk about. We mentioned what how Sam got the proxies to flip, right? What we did not mention is what he said to them.
Yeah, please.
Which was that the opposite, their rival, was going to be the person that Stannis was going to endorse, and that would have been to some benefit, was to get Stannis' support, because Stannis is not unpopular at the Wall, so that may have swayed it. And if
we don't select it right now, Stannis means to force Sir Dennis on us, something like
basically, yeah. He's going to do it, however, exactly. Whether he circumvents the election or whether he gives a ringing endorsement, whatever, Stannis is going to name the other person and basically say they're the next in line. That leads them to both flip for Jon Snow, because he basically says to both of them the same thing. My thought then would be, wouldn't they both realize that the only way Jon Snow gets that vote total is that they both voted for him? But
Yeah,
we never have
but
them have that conversation.
neither of them are stupid. I think it's just
Yeah.
like they both come to the realization of like, I don't want the other guy, so I'll throw in for this one, and the other guy is going to do the same thing.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, hold the phone here, Zach. That's a great point.
They're going to have to look at the vote results here and be like, that fucker lied to me, right? Also, notably, Stannis doesn't opine at all ever, so they can't.
Hang on.
Well, see, I always figured that shoe was just going to drop later.
Oh, that's possible. It's possible we haven't gotten to that shoe.
That like all that needs to happen is like Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike down the road have a conversation and realize what happened. Like I always assumed, like, because then Sam leaves the wall and stuff, and they're not friends. They don't like hang out. I figured if that conversation ever did happen, like it would just be like,
Possible.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about it at this point.
Well, as I've asserted, they're best friends and they hang out all the time. But
no, hang on. I kind of want to explore this for a second, because this is an interesting point. It is literally impossible to win without Dennis Mallister. You can win without Cotter Pike, but you can't win without Dennis Mallister. Yes. Dennis Mallister has to know that.
Yes, and Dennis Mallister is the smarter one of the two. If we're going by like traditional like book smarts, he was raised in a castle. He's literate. He talks about like understanding politics to some extent. Cotter Pike is not literate in like a, how highborn people consider themselves smart, political savvy players. He is probably not on Dennis Mallister's level. Although that might not be the case. Maybe he's got the street smarts version of it, right?
Hang on, I can sort of explain this away. I think I got it. Dennis Mallister believes that Dennis Mallister has been convinced by Sam and is unaware that Cotter Pike has been convinced. Cotter Pike is the same and is unaware that Dennis Mallister has been convinced. But there's also this big, like, super political, like, scene, right? There's this very showy scene where Jon Snow walks in and he talks to everybody, and there's the Raven. Either of them, I think, can just assume that the other, Dennis Mallister can assume that Cotter Pike saw him voting for Jon Snow, and just threw in with him as a concession. Both of them, I think, could believe that the other conceded in the moment.
That's possible. Yes, that's entirely possible that they both like believed they won the game of chicken, basically.
Yeah,
and it just was a matter of who voted first.
And as a matter of fact, I think that sort of tracks with both of their personalities, that they would both believe that of the other, right? Like, both of them are like, haha, I won.
See, even if they aren't actually best friends, they should be.
They should. I think they could get along. I think that they'd actually like each other.
Well, then maybe that's the case, that every election we see...
Oh, fuck no.
There's a pissing match between the two of them that Maester Aemon or somebody else has taken advantage of, right? Because what doesn't sit right by me is the vote totals, like, you have to win one or the other, essentially, in order to win. Like you said, yes. all votes go through Dennis Mallister. And there's a great quote that they put up on the wiki. This is his third election. Corgil and Mormont, and then Jon Snow. And he lost all three of those. Dennis Mallister ran 3 times and lost 3 times. There must have been some sort of deal going on in those other ones too, if he commanded that same percentage of men every single time, right? Like, presumably you staff the towers with an equal percentage of the total people there each time, right? Like, if they get 500 new recruits at the wall, they're not all going to Castle Black. Some of them are going to be going to, Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower.
Now, I do want to note that the numbers are kind of fucky right now, because I believe that Eastwatch is actually overrepresented because because almost everyone from the Great Ranging came from either the Shadow Tower or Castle Black.
And Eastwatch stayed put. Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps, there was a better chance of winning this one, but still, like, even if he only usually had like Cotter Pike numbers, right? Like if that was usually the case or something of that sort, you still need to win at least one of the two of them to have a shot to win an election, or you need to win Castle Black overwhelmingly, right?
Yes.
There is no scenario where you win this election without basically two of the three major locations on the wall giving you a full-throated endorsement.
Yeah, right. That's basically what it comes down to. It's basically a weighted vote election with 3 districts.
Okay, I'm changing my take from Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike decide every election and they're best friends to Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike decide every election, they just don't know it.
Yeah, I think that's the correct take. Yeah. Yeah, the Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike command every election, and Sam figured that out before they did.
That would make sense if they them having to find a compromise candidate, even if they don't talk to each other, get along, all that well, is the way that leads to every election happening. Makes the most sense to me, unless like one of them caves to a candidate who's incredibly popular at Castle Black.
Yes. Yeah, because the people at Castle Black are free to vote on their own. Wow, that's insane. I bet elections. Now, I want to speculate here for a second. Actually, this is an interesting take here. I was going to say that I want to speculate about the elections before all the castles on the wall closed, because that has got to make for some very interesting proxy voting.
Yes.
However, I'm pretty sure that fucking insanely, I think that I got more takes. I'm pretty sure that insanely, Bloodraven's election took place before most of the castles on the wall were closed. Which makes me wonder if Bloodraven is the one who closed the castles.
That's possible. Here's another take.
Wait a minute. Hang on. I need to drop. I am truly sorry.
No. I can stew on mine. It's fine.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I've wondered this for a while. We talked about this a long time ago with Alisanne.
Yeah.
How at the time of Aegon's conquest, all 17 castles were manned, and 300 years later, which is a very short amount of time, we're down to 3. So I've wondered often what the hell happened in that interim to cause all these castles to close. We are told that it is because of the ruinous expense of the castles and the decline of the Night's Watch, but that doesn't really track for me. Because these castles were manned for 7,700 years, and they only stopped being manned in the last 300. And it seems like the only thing that changed is like the dynasty in charge.
Well, there's a possibility that they've gone through different periods, right? Where like when Good Queen Alisanne was there, they happened to have a ton of extra people at the wall, which is true because that's right after they sent a ton of people to the wall after the that was Maegor the Cruel's whole kerfuffle, right?
Oh, that's an interesting take.
So maybe some castles on the wall get closed down and they get an influx of people, and it's like, okay, go spruce up that old castle, right? We have a huge influx of people. Put some distance between you. It's better to prevent disease. It's better to make sure everybody gets a good meal and all that. You go out to that different castle.
I thought the Night Fort was already closed by the time of Alisanne.
No, Alisanne was the one who closed the Night Fort.
Okay.
Yeah. And she funded another castle, I think.
She said it was too spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, Queen's Gate.
3 spooky, 5.
But now, here's the thing I'm thinking now. How are Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister selected?
I think it's appointment.
Is it really? That's fucking
Yeah.
insane.
The other
Because
positions are appointed.
all then Bloodraven needed to do to be Lord Commander was become buddy-buddy with whoever was Lord Commander at the time and get a good couple of appointments at some of the other castles, right?
Yeah.
Like, then if he had 2 or 3 loyalists at certain castles, and there's only like 8 castles, 9 castles at the time, he goes in with a solid lead just by having a couple castles backing him.
You're guaranteed to win Castle Black because Castle Black because you flooded it with Raven's Teeth. Whichever one you are manning because you flooded it with Raven's Teeth.
And also you're voting by proxy, so even if you have like 80 people at your castle who are like, I'll never fucking vote for you, it's like, too bad you don't get to go.
And all you need is a few more. God, that would be I hope we get to see that election because that's going to be extremely interesting.
He can have a castle of 150 people who hate him and one person who's in charge and gets to vote who loves him, and he gets 151 votes.
Yeah. Zach, these are great. These are great takes.
And that is exactly like Bloodraven for sure. If you want one election, I think was illegitimate. It's anything that Bloodraven shows up.
Anything that man touches.
Or at the very least, it's legitimate. Like, technically, that's fair by how they vote. It's just not fair by how the people felt. And I feel like that's Bloodraven's sort of, like, ordeal is, I didn't break the rules.
Oh, my God. So, Bloodraven... Hey, hold the phone here a second. Hold the phone. Did Dennis Mallister know Bloodraven?
How old is he?
He said he's been on the wall a long time. Has he been on the wall for 50 years?
He said 33, right?
33 years he's been on the wall. Okay, never mind that.
I've been the commander of the Shadow Tower for 33 years. So no,
Yo.
longer than 33.
Because
okay, so he wasn't a Targ loyalist. Never mind.
I was a squire at 12, a knight at 18, champion at 22. I have been commander of the Shadow Tower for 33 years. So, at the very least, if he got appointed year 1, which seems incredibly unlikely, he's been there for 33 years. If he got appointed year 7, in which he was a pretty good tenured member of the Night's Watch, then he's been there for 40 years. When was Bloodraven last Lord Commander?
I believe he went missing in 252.
So probably not, but it's not impossible. Do we know how old Dennis Mallister is?
I'm pretty sure he's described as quite old.
Because he realizes when he leaves that was his last chance to win, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
He gets a sad Bernie Sanders, it's over pose.
Served as commander of the Shadow Tower since 267. Oh my God, has this man been a part of multiple elections fraudulently manipulated by Targaryens?
Or possibly he knows that, if Maester Aemon has messed with every other election, it's possible, he just, I think, Mary, you were onto something. He's used to Maester Aemon coming to cut a deal with him every election because he knows the importance of that block of votes sort of thing. And it's possible that either he does that separately with Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister and they both haven't figured it out, or he does it separately and they both figured it out and they're just kind of fucking whatever about it. Fine. I'll vote for your compromise candidate, okay?
Yeah, and so I think it's reasonable to assume that Dennis Mallister would know that Aemon would be giving the same advice to Cotter Pike, And so Dennis Mallister co-signs it because it's like, all right, as long as Cotter Pike isn't being elected, like, you know, so long as he and I are backing the same guy who isn't each other, that they're fine with it, you know?
And also isn't Janos Slint, because they both hated him also, yeah. So
Yeah.
that I think we just found a sane version of my insane take.
Yeah, and we've managed to do it without any magical animals.
Yeah, the crow is just an over enthusiastic endorsement at that point.
Yeah. Huh. This is
Well,
not how I thought
still,
this was gonna go.
I still think
I
the
won.
Magic Raven was like, in case something, like I said, in case something went sideways with Awful Yarwick, and because ultimately what it wound up doing was it got John a whole bunch of the Castle Black votes.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah. So it made it so that nobody could contest it, you know, that it was not close. And so I still think that putting the Raven in the pot did serve a purpose. And I do believe Aemon was the one behind that. Like, because he wasn't sure whether Sam had succeeded. Sam didn't talk to Maester Aemon again.
Yeah. Actually, Aemon made a fantastic read, assuming that Sam Tarly was going to actually wait. This is an interesting point. Assuming Maester Aemon put the Raven in the pot, which I think is very likely, that does really seem like his style. He had the opportunity and it, like, knows how to handle ravens. How did he know that Sam? Because that trick only works once. How did he know that Sam was gunning for John? Maybe he just talked to Dennis Mallister some other time.
And that
Well,
would make sense if they have a pre-existing like relationship where they every time there's an election they sit down and try and cut a deal, right? Like if he says, "Well, Sam came up to me and said so and so and so," Maester Aemon's like, "Ha, he's learned well." Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, and he's like, and of course he didn't get any of that from me.
Well, so I mean, Aemon would have been seeing the same numbers that John was saying about. It's been happening for days. Sam went to Aemon and he was like, you know, what are we gonna do? Da 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 da. And Aemon's like, well, I can't do anything because I am the Maester. And Maester Aemon, we've seen, is very good at reading people. Like he's the one who had John assigned as Mormont's steward after John went to him about Sam, and he was like, you know, Alistair Thorne is going to kill Sam. And so Aemon is very good at reading people and predicting what they're going to do. So Aemon has this conversation with Sam, and I think he knows what Sam is going to do. So he knows that we're down to the wire. He knows that Sam is going to try something. And so he puts the Raven in the pot as the failsafe in case Sam has failed to convince one or the other, because it's one of those, this is the do or die moment. If we don't do it tonight, Jaina Slint is going to have it, you know, the next day. Oh, and Stannis had said, you're going to sit in this room until it's done. There's not another day. So again, this is the do or die moment. It's going to work now or it's not going to work at all.
So let's go through the events. Jaina Slint is climbing. John is considering leaving. John talks to Sam. John talks to Aemon. And Sam talks to Aemon, and Sam talks to Pip and Gren. And it's like, oh, we got to do something. And I think Gren is like, who's this we shit? Somebody got to do something. So Sam is like, okay. He goes to Dennis Mallister and says, hello, I would like you to vote for Jon Snow. And he goes to Cotter Pike and he says, hello, I would like you to vote for Jon Snow. That gets John 270-ish votes. Maester Aemon, predicting this, before the start of the meeting, says, "All right, you fucking bird. You know what'd be really cool? If on cue, you hop out of this pot and you fly to Jon Snow. All right, you remember who to fly to?" And it's like, "Jon!" And he's like, "Yes." And he puts him
I
in
love
the-
how both the Maester Aemon and the bird are played by Burgess Meredith. You're a bum, Raven.
And you're gonna live in this pot down by the river. And he puts the thing in the pot. And he closes the thing. So, and he's like, "You're gonna be in there. You could be in there for an hour. So shut the fuck up." He puts the bird in the pot. Dolorous Ed. Jon is like fucking off behind the wall. He's beyond the wall. He's doing some other shit. Right? He's about to be elected in absentia. Right? He's not even there. And he comes back. He walks in. Presumably, the moment before he walks in, Dolorous Ed puts forth his name. Fucking Dolorous Ed puts forth his name, which by the way gets him. Wait, no, I was gonna say it gets him 273 votes, but Dolorous Ed is not the one voting for Dolorous Ed. We don't know who that is. Dolorous Ed puts forth his name. Presumably, Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike have talked to the people from Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower who voted for them. And said, "All right, you assholes are going to vote for Jon Snow now." There's this big-ass argument. Othel Yarwick retracts his endorsement from Jenna Slint, and then the bird pops out of the pot. And then Jon strikes this image like fucking Odin, with a wolf on one arm and a bird on the other arm and a scar across his eye. And everyone is like, "Holy shit, okay, fucking fine. We'll vote for the kid." I don't think anything magical needs to have happened.
Nor anything like with any direct vote switching shenanigans, right?
Yeah, Aemon doesn't need to have stuffed the ballot box, I think.
That is a deft political play on Sam's part that only needs to work once, right? If you win with the remaining of the vote. Like you can't fool Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike for 6 ballots, but you can fool them for 1.
Yeah.
And that's assuming that they're fooled and not like biting the bullet, right? Like that's assuming that even if like they find out Stannis isn't actually going to name the other, that they aren't eventually going to say, "Well, okay, I'm not winning." And then you just need to get enough other people on Jon Snow's like vote total. When you combine the outside castles, he's pretty close to the numbers he needs regardless. And then you can just flip Othel and you can just flip a couple other people and you're good. And clearly, if people are voting for Dolorous Ed, there's still votes on the table.
Yeah. Right. And like with like a dark horse rock up that dramatic, like the people voting for Three Finger Hob are like, "Well, I was waiting for somebody." The people voting for Ed are like, "I was waiting for somebody."
To bring it back to the
for Ed are probably Pip and Gren.
Yeah, you're probably right.
To bring up the historical parallel again of when James K. Polk became the first Dark Horse, that's exactly what happened, and it was in a one where you needed to win the same win percent we have right here. You needed to win 66%. You needed 2/3, and what happened was there was a trickle of other candidates getting like a smaller percentage, and then the main two folded. And then the rest of them just sorted to trickle enough that somebody did win with just the number they needed, which was a totally fair and normal election by all accounts. So honestly,
it's a little underhanded.
Yes, I think that's the like takeaway here is there's a way to get there, but it requires a lot of people having done some smart political scheming and like deals being cut, whether they were in good faith or bad faith. And we don't get to read the minds of Dennis Mallister and Cotter Pike to determine whether Sam's lie was the, like, you know, key factor or not. But I think since George wrote it that way, you could easily assume that it was, right? I think that's a fair assessment. But you could also make the argument one of them was going to have to, like, bail eventually.
Yeah, somebody needed to, sooner or later, one of them needed to snap.
So something's got to give, yes. If they both continue to vote for themselves, the election never ends.
Yeah. And I think a sense of resignation about it. Like, Cotter Pike was only voting for himself because of his extreme dislike for Dennis Mallister. Because we see relatively good relations between Jon Snow and Cotter Pike after Jon is elected. And so I think even if Cotter Pike, you know, figured it out, he was fine with it because he's like, he didn't want it. You know, he says, like, you know, I belong on a ship. Like, what am I going to do as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch? Like, I belong at Eastwatch. I belong with the boats, you know? And so he appears to have a pretty good working relationship with Jon Snow after the election.
Yeah.
So I think it was, in some ways, both of them being like, oh, you know what? This is actually like a pretty good compromise candidate. You know, how bad could the boy be?
That actually kind of makes Cotter Pike out to be the smartest person in the room, that he keeps voting for himself, not meaning to do it, and not giving in to another candidate. Because he could have been Kingmaker for Janos Slint way earlier, and he was holding out for somebody who was going to. He was holding out for somebody who was going to make a better deal for him, somebody who was going to get along well with, and he did. You're right, get along well with Jon Snow. So maybe even smarter version of my insane take, Cotter Pike has controlled every election since he got his position. Like, he has enough Pike, meaningfully swing.
Honestly, me too. I'm about to make everyone in this room very sad. Mm-hmm. What do we think of the idea that the Winds of Winter prologue chapter will be from the perspective of Cotter Pike?
Ooh.
No.
Wait, because George said Jane Westerling appears in the prologue chapter.
Oh, so. Shit, you're right. Never mind.
Well, appears.
No, if Jane Westerling ends up on the wall, like, I'm fucking sold. Show me how, George. Tell me how.
Because Cotter Pike is currently fucking outside Hardhome.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we, the audience, have no fucking clue what's happening there. And I want to.
Really the show to go off of.
Yeah, and the show was bad. That's why they call it that.
That's what they call it. The bad.
I can't believe that this is where this is. Hang on, I can't believe that this is where this went, because I fully expected to end this with Aemon stuffed the ballot box, and also Bloodraven warged at least 20 voters to get them to switch their votes. That's how I thought this was going to go.
But only like a dozen people needed to switch their votes.
Yeah, I guess it was a totally fine and legit election.
Yeah, I mean, except for Sam. Yeah. Like that to me is the part that's shady. You know, it's
shady, but not fraudulent.
Yeah. Yes. And that's assuming that Mallister and Pike aren't experienced in, like, cutting deals. Like, sure, he does it in bad faith. He lies, but, like, he does offer a legitimately good compromise candidate. And there's an argument that they eventually cave and go for that without the lie.
Huh.
I think the like defining phrase here is something's got to give when you're 9 ballots in and 2 people voting by proxy with like hundreds of proxies are necessary to get to a majority, or at least one of them is. That's not all that sketchy. It was pretty much the only way forward was for one of them to flip. Both of them flipping obviously was even better.
Yeah.
You don't need any magic. You don't need Bloodraven. You don't even really need, like, a ballot swap.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Cool.
Ooh, I'm convinced on one. With the most unhinged argument, we worked backwards to what actually happened.
Yeah. I can't believe that came out so nice.
Maybe I'll get a draw on the King's Moot for the next one, right?
Yeah. Sidebar. I hope that we get, because I hope that we get some version of a Duncan Egg novella that shows us that election, Bloodraven's election.
Ooh.
Because the more I think on it, the more interesting it becomes. A part of me imagines that sooner or later we will get another perspective in the Duncan Egg novellas. I imagine that Aemon will be a major perspective character in the Duncan Egg books once he becomes Maester on Dragonstone and we start to see more, more like court politics going on with all these fun people. And then I would love to see how this election shakes out.
I thought for a second. Sorry, go ahead, Mira.
Do you think there would be Duncan Egg novellas after Aegon becomes king?
Yeah, I would imagine that the last one's probably going to be Summerhall.
I don't know if I believe that, but I would love a book where it's Dunk in a highly fast-paced political environment, and he is typically clueless about court politics. So he is full-on running, it'd be like the Mystery Night on steroids, where it's he's walking into smoke-filled rooms and backroom deals and has no idea what's going on, and he's messing with people's political intrigue on accident, really slapstick style. It's like Forrest Gump runs into the Manchurian Candidate, sort of.
It's like the opposite of the Sworn Sword, where he's no, Dunk, you don't have to be nice to the peasants here. As a matter of fact, it's probably better if you don't.
So I know we're coming up on the end here. Are you guys' video displays still lined up with the audio? Because I've got a delay.
Oh,
I think mine's delayed just the tiniest bit.
Well, fix it in post, I guess.
Ooh.
Shit, fuck.
Okay.
All right, there it is. Do you guys have anything to add? I'm kind of pleased with the way that this ended up.
Yeah, I guess I would, the thing that would be necessary would be historical data on previous elections, right?
Yeah.
Maybe something sketchy happened if every other election was won in 2 ballots or 3 ballots in a landslide. Then you could say this one is an anomaly. But even then, it's an anomaly that can be explained. It's an anomaly that can be explained pretty easily. And we know that there have been Lord Commander elections that have gone on longer. I can't remember if it's Aemon or somebody else has said this is not abnormal. The men decide when the men decide. I think somebody tells Stannis that. It might have been Bowen Marsh.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's Aemon to Stannis.
Yeah.
Sidebar, Mira, I'm a huge fan of your super dramatic color balancing. You lean all the way out and the light changes, and you lean all the way back in and the light changes again. It's so good. I just can't believe that there's no magic.
I mean, there could be magic. It's just the magic is unnecessary.
Yeah, but that could be a regular talking bird. We have those now.
Yeah.
We have those in our world.
That Jon Snow just on accident cut a very effective campaign ad.
Yeah, it just got Hi, I'm Lord Commander Mormon. I approve this message.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the most effective way to use magic. It's when done correctly, people won't be sure that you've done anything at all. I think I'm quoting Futurama here.
Yes. God and Futurama. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great take. This is a good take in this.
That's an incredibly good take. Yeah. If there was obvious magic, it would have been spooky and it would have fallen apart. We'll talk about this again.
There would have been a riot.
Because there's magic at the Kingsmoot. I also think the magic doesn't matter there. But
the magic. If we're asserting that there's magic at the King's Moot, and that it influences people, the riot that takes place after is not because of the magic. That's because of all the Euron.
It's because however,
That's because of the candidates.
I think he probably used magic to go by winning by like 50% to winning by overwhelmingly, and people will catch on to that.
All right. Well, the next time we do this, it's going to be the King's Moot. Please tune in. And then after that, we are doing the truly poorly advised Great Council of 305.
Woo!
Which I am so upset about.
I think it's just going to be me complaining.
You're not going to be alone. Don't worry.
We'll all be complaining.
I'm going to have to rewatch that episode.
I'm not doing it. I'm going based on memory.
I'm going to rewatch
you know what?
King Bran, what a nice cereal box.
In preparation, I'm actually going to just watch Glidus's piss take.
Yeah, yep. That's it. Everyone watching. That's your homework for the next 2 episodes. Go read the King's Moot and do not watch season 8, episode 6 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, just watch Glidus's piss takes instead.
The season only had 6 episodes. Gee, what were they thinking?
Yeah, we cannot start that discussion this late in the video.
No.
You know what? If you want to, we can do a whole stream called "That Last Season Only Had 6 Episodes." God, what were they thinking?
All right, we'll record that one next.
All right, everybody, say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.